We have two speakers on the stage joining us, Marc and Katharina. We'll take you on a journey starting from why happiness at work does matter for your business performance to practicing live hands-on tool to improve happiness and motivation. Marc has broad experience in enterprise-wide change initiatives and agile transformation in IT, marketing, HR, management. He's a certified Scrum Master, product owner, agile coach, and SAFe practitioner, and much more. Katharina is a CEO in a flat hierarchy team. She feels that leadership is not about authority, but about facilitating this co-creation and enabling people to work according to their strengths. Katharina is also a successful leadership coach at scale-up organizations. With talk about agile leadership, does it equal happiness at work? Welcome to the stage, Marc Nieman and Katharina William.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this will be about happiness. And of course, we want to make you happy. We are happy, excited,
Yes.
right?
Excited to be here.
Excited. So this is the keynote with props, and you should have some. First of all, have your phone. Please not to check the news, they don't make you happy, okay? So it's about the app, we will do some activation in it, with it, so please have that. Then you should have the moving motivators. You don't have to open it now, we will tell you, all good. And maybe yesterday you got the welcome package and there was this nice little leaflet in. And this will be handy because we are talking about the 12 steps of happiness. But Niels Flickling, where is he here? You promised me to be here. Is he here? No? Well, this morning at breakfast, he reminded me that we are all human. Because he was talking to me, did you change your slogan when you saw my shirt? And I was like, no. So if you have this leaflet, please take it out. If you have a pen, please take it out. Because we just changed our slogan into manage the system, the people. That doesn't make sense. It is all about managing the system, not the people. So if you have a pen, write it big and fat on it, please. So, Marc, I said it's going to be exciting, and I want to, of course, include the audience, or we want to include the audience. So who here is working in corporate transformations? Raise your hands. Are there some? Are there some? A couple, some. Okay, and who of you worked in corporate transformations when it was still called change management project and there was no agile a thing? Oh, also some.
Wow, yeah.
Great, so maybe you can relate to that. It's a little story about happiness. And so I was working years ago in this company, and well, I was in the team that led the change. So year-long change project, yeah, also nice. I think it was like 5 years or so. And we had the usual suspects of events that you install in a change process, including the big leadership event with the 150 top executives of that company. And they were supposed to break down the change, to break down the messaging that the CEO in his keynote would give them. So we're like, okay, you need to have something motivating. And we asked the CEO, so what's the message? What's the purpose? What's the why of this change process? Something that the top leaders should break down and that gets them off their seats, motivated, and say, yes, this is what I'm going to tell the employees. So we asked him, and he looked at us and he was like, 8.5% return on investment. Well, that was not the happy, motivating message we were waiting for. So we said, we're a little bit unhappy in the team asking, and so I said, well, maybe there's something more motivating. Well, let's say it was not the best way to go to a CEO and say that, especially when you're like mid-20, girlish in a male environment. So he was just like, why should that not motivate people? Right? Have 8.5% return on investment, that will kill off our debt in 20 years, and we will have more freedom. So no shitting around with this. He was taking the keynote. I don't have to tell you that this was not the keynote we had hoped for, the spark of motivation. and happiness throughout the organization. But that was before, right? That was before Agile was a thing. Mark, you are working in Agile transformations.
Yes,
Now
and we hope, of
better.
course, that things are changing. I have a question to you. It's after lunch. Can you please all stand up? Let's make sure we have a little bit of energy in the room.
You didn't think you could just sit here,
If you
right?
thought we're going to have the after lunch dip, I can just take a nap and I can watch the recording later. Not really. I'm thinking you're all in some way involved in an agile transformation, or your companies, or you're adopting an agile way of working, whatever we want to call it. So please raise your right hand if the change towards agile is all about faster time to market, better quality of product, things like that. If those are your goals for your agile way of working, please raise your right hand. Well, are there people who are in an organization where also the goal of the change is actually people and happiness? If so, please raise your left hand. And those people that have both hands up can cheer a little bit, because that, in a sense, is good news. But this group seems quite lucky, because, thank you, you can sit down again. Thanks for indulging me. I still see a lot of agile transformations that are more like, we want to reduce time to market, we want to improve quality, or worst of all, we want to implement a framework. We're going agile, let's implement SAFe. So there is still quite a bit of work to do.
There is, but there's hope. There's hope. And that brings us to the key question of this little keynote. It's, if we just install agile leadership, is it the answer? Does it solve the problem of happiness at work? It makes everybody happy? Yeah? Well, that we will find out today. But first, I want to dive a little bit into what happiness actually means to you in day-to-day. So think about situations where you were smiling, yeah? Where it left you energized, it made you happy. Not just happy you have to jump on a couch and with Oprah, like Tom Cruise did. I don't remember. No, if you remember that scene. But it was like, yay, not like this. Just a line, smile, energize. And you can think about this while I ask Mark, because we are working together in Management 3.0. So in our work, what makes you happy?
I thought about this, and I think I want to share a little anecdote, because sometimes maybe not the usual things can make you happy in work. I mean, the obvious one with Management 3.0 is we are a team of 9. We're distributed in 7 countries, but we really act as one team. And one of the things that I really appreciate is we are fully transparent. The successes we have, the failures we make, or maybe I should say the failures I make, what we are working on, what we're trying to achieve, we are always transparent about it. There are literally no hidden agendas, conversations, and things like that. So that already makes me really happy. I really enjoy working in such a team. But another thing that made me happy, which is the anecdote, is that I joined the team July last year. And 2 weeks after I joined the team, my father became ill. And he became quite seriously ill. He had to go to hospital, and very unfortunately, a while later, he passed away. And what made me happy, as strange as that may sound in that situation, that this team of people, Katharina and colleagues, that I had joined 2 weeks previously, they were supportive, they showed empathy, they tried to help me, they gave me freedom to be there to work or to be away to be with the family. So not knowing these people, not having met these people, because we were all distributed in different countries, reacting the way they did to my personal situation, strange as it may sound, also in a sense made me happy, because it gave me the opportunity to also focus on the things that I thought are really important in life. So a bad period, and yet still sort of a happy feeling.
Yes, and you already named a lot of things. So for me, it's small things, like adding this keynote to the team calendar and then getting this GIF from the team cheering us on. That really made me happy in day-to-day practices. So, have you thought about a situation? Then please turn to your seat neighbor if you have one. If not, Stefan. Well, I will ask you afterwards. So think about this and talk to yourself first. Go to your neighbor, seating neighbor, and tell them what is a situation that came to your mind. If I don't hear mumbling, then I know you're not following me. Huh?
I hear laughter, I hear good stories, nice.
We hear it. So there is something that comes to your mind. That's great. Stefan, you're all by yourself, so you have to tell us now.
Can we, thanks for sharing.
Stefan, because he has to share with us now.
It's personal or it's job?
In work.
In work. Okay. So now I need to think.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah.
think.
Accomplish something together with the team. So reaching our goals and things like that. But most important is process while doing that. Not the goal itself, but cooperation and doing together with teams.
All right. Thank
In case you haven't met him yet, that is Stefan, one of our amazing Management 3.0 facilitators. There's more of them in the room, so if you want to know more, go talk to this guy. He's great.
All right. So if you heard great stories, we interrupted you, take this to the next networking session, because it's a great way to interact with people and to come to a deeper understanding and not just do some small talk. So take it to the next session as well. So we all know happiness is nice to have personally. We want to be happy. But Mark, is there a business case behind it? I mean, why should organizations care? They care about return on investment, right?
Yeah, they care about internal investment, and we heard speakers today, yesterday. What do leaders want? They want results, they want money, they want new products, they want status, they want... So often also when we go into organizations and we say, but you know, happiness is really important. These CEOs and some of like, I'm 54, my age, been 30 years in business, like, happiness, what's the return on investment on happiness? How can I make money on happiness? You know, it's important, it's nice, but it doesn't really get our focus. So I think we need to find ways also to bring the message across that happiness is really important, because I think we would all from common sense agree that happiness is important, but thankfully more and more there is literally proof, science, that happiness is important for business. It's not just a nice to have topic to think about in your agile transformation, in your daily way of working. It's a need to have. And these are some of the sources that we like to refer to. I'm not going to read them all one by one, but you see that from even the guys that wrote the Agile Manifesto, they had altogether 200 years of software development practice, and they were extremely unhappy. And that's why they wrote the manifesto. But we see sources like Gartner, Forrester, McKinsey. And why am I using these? And I will come back to this later this afternoon. These are sources that some of these old gray guys in suits sitting in boardrooms, these are the sources they use for their information. They go to Forrester events, they read McKinsey blogs, they read the Harvard Business Review. And beneath all these points, there is literally scientific research to show that happy people matter in the world of business. And before I go into the benefits, I wanted to mention one specifically, the last one, the Happiness Index. Very nice, very interesting company, group of people, because they found something which I thought is also very important. In the world of business, there's a lot of talk about engaged employees. Who of you speaks about engagement in your company? Do you do surveys or do you have conversations about that? See a few hands. But what they found, also doing research, that engagement is a bit more a rational thing. I am connected to the purpose of my organization. Happiness is an emotional state. So just, quote unquote, having engaged people might not necessarily be enough. We need to think about how can we make our people happy. Because, and this then comes from also these studies, happy people are good for business. They stay longer in your organization. We speak to organizations that have a staff turnover rate, if I call it that, of 20% per year. Is that recognizable? You can speak up, say, yeah, we also see a lot of people leave. People that are happy stay. So it means you don't have to continuously hire new people, train new people, onboard new people, and new people take 3, 6, 8, 9 months before they really become effective. So keeping your people in your organization is good business sense. Happy people are healthier, literally. They are less often sick. So, there's less cost of delay. Okay, we're going to finish the project. Katharina will do the last step. Oh, no, Katharina is ill at home. We have to wait till she gets back. Cost of delay. No, they're willing to learn, they're willing to develop, they're willing to enhance their skills. They want to come to your organization. No? Does anybody of you get people that uninvited come to your organization and say, hey, can I work here? How cool would that be? If people would literally pick up the phone, call your organization, say, I think you are a really cool organization, I would love to work for you. No, that, if we can achieve that. And, very long sentence, but again, more creative, more productive, more innovative, deliver better customer experiences. And again, I mean, I can list the sources, but if you dive a bit deeper into this, there is research, and I think this is really good to bring into the conversation. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. So knowing this, we often get the question, okay, we get it. But how? How do we actually work on this?
How? And what does it actually mean, happiness at work? So back to our key question from the beginning. If we have agile leaders, agile management, does it make the organization happy? We are doing some daily stand-ups. We are having, if you know Management 3.0, we have some kudo cards, some moving motivators. If we do that, does it make people happy? Well, not necessarily, obviously, or it depends. If there is just the tools, and we heard that a lot also in the different talks, if it's just the tools, then nothing will change. It's actually the same like those big company projects where they just install some policies. This is just the same wine in new bottles. So what do companies actually do to make their people happy? And does it do or make them happy? Maybe they are proclaiming the values and we care about happiness for our employees. Well, that always helped. Maybe you have some cool office spaces. I mean, who doesn't get jealous? I mean, there's a ball pool and swings. I would love to have that in my office. But the problem is, well, there was this little pandemic and all those nice office spaces were deserted and you were cramped in your homes with your kids and you still had to work. And even if that doesn't happen, we have 2020, so 2022, sorry. 2020 just keeps on happening. No, 2022. So even if there's no pandemic, you have an Elon Musk and, he will eradicate all the nice to-haves in the office spaces. So I didn't put the Twitter headquarters, who still look nice, up there. So little catastrophes will happen. Doesn't really make everybody happy. Maybe it's unlimited vacation. I mean, how cool is that? If you just can take off 2 months as a policy from your company, well, is anybody still working there? Huh? We have this really nice company, Buffer. Anybody here knows Buffer? Social media tool? Anybody? No? Well, there, I saw it. Well, it's not only a tool, it's a really cool company. And they said, well, vacation time is important. American company, they don't have much vacation anyway. So they said, we'll give unlimited vacation. Well, what happened? It was not that people were suddenly 6 weeks off. It was nobody was taking vacation. It was really decreasing. So it didn't make people happy. It actually put stress on them. And the same experiments were in other cool companies like Netflix, Oracle, HubSpot. There are similar experiences with that. So just for giving the policy, here you have enough vacation time, doesn't do it, obviously. So I know those are Silicon Valley things, far away from Belgrade, far away from Europe, and far away from my own home. So we are looking a little bit more down-to-earth examples. A client of mine could be the client of yours as well. Nice software company, familiar culture, good canteen. They care about their people, actually, or at least they say that. They have a good salary, they have benefits, and they had a bonus that came every year. So basically, it was not a bonus, it was something that was taken for granted. Well, guess what? There is some inflation going on. There is an economic crisis. So this year, no bonuses, no salary increases, cutting back benefits. And instead, disappointed expectations, and some managers who now have performance reviews, oh, that's another great thing, performance reviews in which they have to talk with their people and don't know how they can motivate them because they were relying on extrinsic motivators and having well-meant some instruments that actually destroying happiness.
We did not rehearse this. Interrupt you 1 second, Katharina. This
Yes.
morning I spoke to somebody. So we are, 18 November today. They work for a company. The company announced today, because of cost cutting, all Christmas activities are cancelled. Oh, and by the way, please work really hard till the end of the year to make our targets. We get the message. No, we don't want to spend a few €100 per office to have a nice bit of glühwein and drinks and some snacks, but please put in the effort. I don't think a lot of people are very happy in that company.
Probably not. You had some exciting phone calls about that. No, if you're just doing some policies, something and that you can also take away, then probably it won't make people very happy. And basically, we know it's the same with Agile. If you just put on some tools, if you just do some Agile things, it is not really Agile. You have to be Agile. You have to be an Agile leader. And that is not about a specific toolbox. This is not opening a book and saying, okay, if I put on those 3 things, probably the bullshit bingo that Niels had on his slides when he was talking about the context. If you just do that, then they'll be happy? No. You have to really be that. What does that mean? I mean, how do you do that? You can boil it down to basically 3 principles. First of all, it is the deep understanding or belief that happiness is vital to the success of my team and my company. And if I believe that, and there's proof for it, if I believe that, then I will do the things that are making my people happy. I have this mindset already. The second one is curiosity. So the authentic interest and curiosity about what motivates my people and what makes them happy. And the third one is agility. And I mean agility also in the way of flexibility in your brain and in your beliefs. Just because once a policy functioned and made some people happy or motivated somebody, doesn't mean that it will always stay that way. Like, who here has kids? Who has kids? Okay. Did your priorities and motivation change a bit when you got them? Just a little bit, right? So, yeah. So, I do have to have the understanding as an Agile leader that just because it was once working, it's not working all the time. So those is like the 3 principles, but how do you now do that? It's great. You say, yeah, I understand that, but no, Katharina and Marc, what does it mean? What does it mean? So there's good news and bad news. Bad news first. Bad news is there is no freaking blueprint for that. There is no book that will tell you that what your team and what your employees need. Bad. The good news is they will tell you. They will tell you if you create the space and the room to let them tell you. And that over and over again. So just one way to have this, foster this conversation is something I told you, you have it on the little leaflet, the 12 steps to happiness. Because when you look at the research about what makes people happy, it's not the end result. It is the way. That's not the Buddhist. It's also a Buddhist thing to say, happiness is on the way and not in the destination. But it is truly like certain activities will create more happiness. So if you look at those things, this is kind of private, like the sleep thing. What should I do? Tell my people to sleep? No. But the policies you have in your company will impact this. Do you think that writing mails late at night or on the weekend or early morning meetings will help your people to sleep? Probably not. In some other teams, like we are working very asynchronously, it might not have that big of an effect, because I know if somebody is writing something in Slack, they don't really expect me to answer immediately. But in your team, that might be a problem. Take another example, hike. What? You will give them all the nice, the watches, how they're called in English, the smart watches that will have their steps counted? No, of course not. But there are certain things you can do, not only on the offsites when you actually have some activities together, but in a meeting that doesn't require laptops. You could do that by walking. Even like on remote teams, that is an especially nice street because people can show certain landmarks. And that, again, will help with the socializing thing because people feel closer.
Do any of you do walking meetings?
Anybody? Oh,
Yeah?
walking meetings. Let me hear, how is it going there in the walking meetings? Great. What's great about it?
Just getting out of the house and changing context.
Yeah.
Enough.
And it
Yeah.
kind of gives you a better feeling, right?
And again, there's even on that research that walking releases certain hormones and serotonins, and I'm not sure what these things are exactly called, which drive creativity. So people walking, having a conversation about work, will have new ideas. Think of maybe new ways to service customers, to solve problems. And you're not distracted by your laptop and by other colleagues sitting on the phone or behind their desk, or maybe when you're working from your children screaming for cookies or whatever it is they're at that point looking for. So again, it makes sense. It helps make people happy and improve your business.
Exactly. And again, there is no right or wrong. So we have meditate over there. And yes, I also meditate and it makes me happy. And there's scientific proof that it helps. So, well, we did a little experience. I think that was before your time. We have our campfire strategic meetings. And we do a nice check-in all the time. So I thought, well, let's try something that I tried with other people and it worked a lot of times. But in this case, I did something called centering. So it's a little bit focusing on your breathing and on the surrounding and how you feel in a room. And it calms your mind and it can really help, like before coaching sessions or so. And I could see, even in the virtual environment, for some it worked, for some it didn't. And they felt uncomfortable or I didn't like it or whatever, and that's okay. So it was an experiment. I could see, well, it doesn't really work, so we're not doing that anymore. And this is also, when I come back to the buffer example, they didn't just say, well, you know what, screw it. They didn't take the vacation days, so we just leave it. If they don't want to take vacation, okay. No, they said, this is important, and we want to understand our employees. So they did experiments. And it's not like the first experiment, not the second that didn't completely satisfy. But now, they work in different countries, and they say, well, we recommend a minimum number of days. In different countries, it's different, which one. And still, if you want to take more, you take more vacation, it's fine. That's one point of the story. The other one is that the executive team does lead by example and is taking lots of vacation. Not too much, but still more than the recommended one. And suddenly, vacation times went up. Okay? So it's about experimenting. It's not about not giving up. It's about looking at it over and over again. So if we look a little bit further, why is it so hard then still to have happiness in the organizations? And at first I would like to ask you, if you think about the last month that you had and the conversations you had at work, how many times or did you have conversations about what makes you and the team happy at work? If it was more than one in the last month, please raise your hand. I see 10 or something, okay. And where it was not even one? Should be all the rest now. Okay, so it is kind of hard to talk about it. Why? Because we don't talk about feelings or whatever. So there are some reasons for resistance, or let's say for neglect, because if you don't talk about that, there is not even resistance. And what is it? So I want you to take out the phones. Take out the phones, please. Take out the phones, and you can go on the Match About, and I would like to have the poll, talking to the technic guys now, and we have a little poll on the Match About app. If you look at the main wall, there should be something. Yeah. So what is the main reason for resistance in your organization to create or talk about happiness at work? Is it the time? Well, we just are busy with client deliveries. Is it skepticism? Well, is it even worth it? Why should we talk about happiness? Is it insecurity? Maybe? You don't know how? Or uncomfortable? Well, we don't talk about feelings, right? I think in Serbia it's like maybe it's the same like in Germany. We don't talk about feelings then. No. Or something different. So let's see. If you go on the poll, you find the poll? Stefan, you see the poll? Nope.
Maybe just to help from my side, I'm sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
There's a
When you go on the app, next to the event, you have Q&A and polls. Click there and you will find M3.0 poll. Hopefully this
And you can
helps.
find this out for later because it's definitely also important for later, the polls. You
There
see
we
it?
go. Kijk.
Okay, now it goes up, So, time. Lots of time constraints. Mostly time constraints, and not sure how. Well, Mark, that gives you some hints about what to talk, because I just said, well, we have this 12 steps to happiness, you have to talk about it, you have to find some individual things. Well, great, Katharina, so that still doesn't to give me how. Mark, be a little bit more concrete for the people.
Before I go on, there's a few others, and like we wrote, anybody wants to share maybe what could be other reasons this is not top of mind, so to speak?
13 people. Who were the 13 people?
Yeah, please?
So sometimes people do not feel that they can make difference
Okay.
because they don't feel that it will change.
And they feel like even if they were to speak about it or speak up, that the environment, the culture is not really there to actually change it. Okay? Yeah? Nice. Okay. Back to the presentation, please. Right? Or do we want to have
To the
more?
back room. We need the presentation back.
Thank you very much. So, time we saw, but also other reasons. So how do we actually then create more focus, more attention, more time to talk about happiness, to think about happiness, to work on happiness? Well, as the saying goes, I mean, the very first step is, as I wrote on the screen, the very first step in solving a problem is realizing it actually exists and we actually consider it a problem. So if any of you think like, we don't really talk about happiness in our company, we have a 20% staff turnover, our employee satisfaction score is -20. If you all think that's fine, then that's it. If you or your colleagues or your management doesn't see that doesn't feel that this is a problem, we're going to have a hard time working on it, we're going to have a hard time finding time for it, we're having a really hard time making these conversations more frequent, more open, more honest, etc., etc. So we really have to think and realize and recognize that this is actually something we want and need to work on. And how can we do that? Well, from Management 3.0, way before my time, we created this beautiful overview, this figurine, Marty, and it helps us to make the switch from thinking like, oh, we have an issue, we have a problem, to how can we actually work the problem, start creating a change in our organization. So what we did was, you can describe 6 views on an organization, which are mentioned here, and I will briefly elaborate on them to give you a bit of a flavor. And then you can think like, okay, in which of these areas is my problem, or is the organization's problem, or like was mentioned yesterday morning, maybe some of you remember the water lilies, what is the deep-rooted cause of my problem? There's a problem on the surface, but there's something underneath. So it could be, the first one, energized people. Our people are not, they're not happy, they're not energized, they're not even motivated, they're not even engaged. No, they're just lackluster, they don't really, it's not really happening. Or empower teams. We try to give, in an organization, responsibility to the teams. We try to give the sense of empowerment to teams. It's not working. Teams are not picking it up. Teams are not being proactive. Teams are not really saying like, we want to do this more. So that's not working. Or, the third one, we keep doing what we always did. We're not thinking about how can we change the way we work, how can we improve the way, not just on happiness, but on anything, how we develop software, how we create services, how we do marketing, how we define the customer experience. We want to continuously think about how can we improve things, but that's not really there maybe. The fourth one is align constraints. We said that, especially in bigger companies, multiple teams. Who has heard the term Agile is advanced chaos theory? We have all these teams and they're just doing stuff and everybody's doing what they like and there's no alignment and it's a big mess and it's chaotic and it's No, we need to have a sense of direction. So maybe constraints is not the ideal word, but we're going to say as an organization, as a team, as a group, this is the direction we want to move in, this is the kind of company we want to be. And if that is not there and it is that immense chaos, we need to work on that. We need to continuously develop competence, grow our skills, grow our experience, because the world is changing, technology is changing, customer needs are changing, society is changing, so we need to do that. And last but not least, we need to grow structure. As companies evolve, we need to continuously think about how are we structured, how are we organized within teams, across countries, across continents. So all these things could be areas for change, for growth, for improvement. And we want to take one as an example, because for each of these 6 views, there are specific practices, tools, ideas from Management 3.0 that you can use to actually start driving that change, start changing the behavior. And we're going to take the energize people as an example. You all have the pack of little blue cards, right? The moving motivators. It's one of the Management 3.0 practices. So what I would like to ask you to do is take them out. There's 10 cards. Take a bit of time to look at each of them. And there is no hardcore truth in this, but look at them a little bit, interpret them from your own perspective, and then pick a card where you say one of these things, that is what motivates me in my work. That is what is important for me to have in my work, to feel in my work. I am motivated by freedom. I have a lot of freedom in my work. How I do my work, when I do my work. I can work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can work at 3 o'clock at night. I love that. I want to have that. Or other people say like, no, order, a bit more structure, alignment is something that... So find one that appeals to you, and when you have it, and I'm sorry again, Stefan, maybe you need to move, share it with your neighbor. See which ones you came up with, and have a bit of a conversation. Why is that something that motivates you? And just one little disclaimer, there is no right or wrong. No, it's all
There's
fun.
no agile motivator. Like, if you want to be agile, then you need to be, I don't know, freedom?
No, not necessarily. No. No, freedom, for some people, freedom works. For other people, freedom in the work environment doesn't really work. So pick one and have a chat with your neighbor about why that motivates you. So, Katharina, which one would you pick today?
Well, it's always the same, right?
Freedom. It's,
When it's 21.
mm-hmm.
But we're good. I think we're good in time.
Okay, lots of conversations going on. Great. Can I have the poll back on the screen, please? Thank you. So, next to that, also to share in a bit of a wider audience, can you please, again, go to the Match About app on your phone and put your motivator in the poll that we created. We want to kind of get a sense. how this room is motivated.
Maybe we find out the Agile motivator number one.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we had like 130 responses in the previous poll, so let's see if we can get to that number again a little bit. 68, yeah. Freedom, honor, acceptance, security, other, order, status.
But I do have the thesis that for certain professions you will find some motivators that are more into it.
Yeah.
So when I do that with software developers, I find a lot of curiosity and mastery. Not so much relatedness.
I like this audience. I think one person with status, one person with order, lots of people
yeah.
with master. Oh, two. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
we love
anybody.
That. We love that with almost no status. Like with Management 3.0 as a flat hierarchy, we love that you're not that much after status. But
So this is one of the examples, and we'd love to hear more from you. We'd love to hear you continue the conversation, but please do that in the break later after the conference.
They're not even stopping.
Sorry?
They're not even stopping. So
They want to go on. Okay.
That's good.
If that is what makes you happy, please continue the conversation.
we just
That's
stay
why
here.
we're here. No, but hopefully you understand. This is one way, and again, the moving motivators, the terms on the cards. Can I have the presentation back, please? Sorry, that's the magic guy doing the magic in the back. There is no right or wrong, and people will interpret these moving motivators differently, which is all fine, but I hope what you just experienced very briefly, it's a great conversation starter. It's a great way to start talking about what motivates you, what makes you happy, what makes you enjoy your work. And so whichever way you use it, in one-on-one conversations, with teams, with colleagues, it's a great way to think about and drive maybe that motivation of people. Can I have the presentation back, please?
Please, technical wizard, please give us the presentation back. Thank you.
There we go, thank you. There's another thing I think which is important when we talk about happiness and how can we move it forward, how can we drive it, and this relates back to the slide that we presented earlier with Gartner, Forbes, McKinsey, all those kinds of companies and organizations. Doing this, earlier we saw lack of time. We're too busy with client delivery. So we need to find time to have these conversations, to think about this, to work on this, etc. So we need to also sometimes go to our management, to our organization, to our bosses and say, we want to spend time on this. And quite often they go, yeah, but first finish the client delivery and then you can do something on this. No, we need to find time. We need maybe even to find people that can take this as a role or as a responsibility to really have that conversations with people, to think about that. Maybe we need money to even something simple as build the cool office space or do something. So we need time, money. So we need to convince also, I think, our organizations that this is important, that we literally need to invest in it. And in order to invest in happy people, happy organizations, I think, for lack of a better word, we need to build sort of a happiness business case. We need to, and the data is there. We need to convince, again, especially maybe looking at myself, these older gray guys in the boardroom, in the C-level, we need to convince them with facts that happiness is good for business. We saw it earlier, less turnover, less sick leave, better customer experience. All these things, the numbers are there that we can bring to our organizations and say like, let's not treat this as a nice to know after all the hard regular work client delivery we do. No, this has to be in the core, in the DNA of our way of working. And so, yeah, literally build the business case, collect information, gather data to help convince the organization, management, your colleagues that this is really important to work on. To you the honors of picking it up here.
All right, so is Agile leadership now the answer to happiness at work? Well, I'm pretty sure that not every leader would call themselves Agile. And not in every environment where you feel happy, in a working environment, there is agility. But it doesn't matter if it's called Agile or not, because leadership is about happiness and about people. and it's about the mindset. It's about being something. So we want you to get away with something tangible. And again, and this is not a poll, but you take out your phones, please. One more time, last time, I promise. So you take out your phone and you navigate to your calendar app. Take out your calendar app and navigate to Monday. And then please, on Monday, put a reminder, or better even a 15-minute meeting with yourself. And write it there as a calendar entry. What will you try? What will you do to foster happiness in your team or happiness for yourself? Because life is way too short to be in a job that you don't love and be unhappy. That doesn't mean you have to quit, please, otherwise they will sue me and never give me back to Serbia or something. No, you don't have to quit, but you have to take action, you have to change something, and it starts with you, and it doesn't matter if you are the manager or a team employee, okay? It starts with you, the whole change, and happiness, it's way worth it. All right, so did you put something inside? Yes,
It's the
okay.
best way to start your Monday morning, meeting with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So what did you put inside? I want to hear some examples. I heard a yes from here. Who said yes?
I said it, but I just said it to
Oh, you wanted to energize the room. Well, you also, when you're a facilitator, and a host, you can have more happiness. All right, I need another example. What did you put in your calendar? Somebody? Okay, who said who was working in corporate? Who was working in corporate? Hands up. All right, so I will just... All right, so what did you put inside? What would you want to try to be more happy? Less meetings. Okay, you will look at the less meetings, fine. Okay. Do we have, do we have HRler here? Any HRler? HR. What did you put?
only a break.
A break. Taking rest. Taking a break. Also important. So just share also with each other. We gave you a lot of things to share in the next networking session, actually. But this is also what it's about. It's about the conversation of it. And to really take some time to talk about happiness at work.
And I wanted to add one thing. I really loved the break. Again, simple things. Who has the experience that since we shifted to remote working, especially under COVID, your calendar is blocked every hour with meetings? 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 5. We forgot that when we're in an office building, sometimes we have to move from meeting to meeting, so there's a 5 or 10 minute breathing space to actually walk to another meeting room, to get a cup of coffee, to have a few minutes to digest the meeting. So even in a, let's say, digital environment, set your meetings to 50 minutes. Create some little breaks for yourself, so you can actually get that coffee, have a few minutes to digest. Those are already simple things that you could do.
You see, we cannot stop talking about it, actually, but at one point we have to stop talking, because time is running out.
Yes.
And we want to make two people happy, again, because if you like conferences, we also have one on Agile leadership in Berlin and virtual. And if you have visited our booth in the Match About app, you could win a prize. And we asked about the most inspiring answer to what is Agile leadership, or what characteristics. So we, which action do you want to take? We looked at all those entrances, and we choose 2 winners for the Berlin tickets. If you still want to attend virtually, you can do so in the next minutes, just to go to our virtual booth, answer the question for the virtual one, and you are in the pot for drawing. We will do that at the end of the conference. But our 2 lucky winners, I know probably one is not here, but the other one is here, I saw him. It's Stefan, who was rhyming. So congratulations, I see you in Berlin, or you can have it as a gift for somebody else.
Yeah, I decided to be a gift for one also commented.
All right, so then you wanted to take action, you wanted to choose the other one. All right, and the other one is, and please forgive me, My Serbian is not really good, the pronunciation. Angela Kvitan. I asked Vladimir how to say it.
We both are really...
Kvetitschanian, right? Something like Angela Kvetitschanian is the second one. So
I don't think she's here.
she's there?
No, I don't think
No,
she is.
she's upstairs. I saw her upstairs. So those are 2 lucky winners. If you want to join virtually, join our booth, and you can still do in the next hour. And now we have question and answers.
Yeah.
If you have your phone, you can put some questions, or of course, here. I leave it to you.
You can see the first one. It's not a question, it's more of a, can you please add beer and pizza as the 13th step to happiness?
Yeah.
Good food. There is food. There is food in the 12 steps to happiness. So yeah, I do believe that as well.
Sonia wants to know how to get people to open up. Even in a safe environment, there are always people that do not like to speak up and provide their feedback.
All right, so that's a good one. And you have virtual context, you have in-person context. And I know here other facilitators as well. And what we usually do? We would provide the space somehow for them. First, there's trust. And Jutta was talking about this morning. We cannot have measurements or metrics without a trustful environment that actually belongs to everything. The second one is give them the space. So if you're in a workshop, don't just ask in the room. Yeah? You let people write something. Same in virtual workshops. You first let people write something. You give time boxes for people, so the people that talk a lot will don't talk too much. Don't talk too much. So you can let people go after each other. So there's a lot of things. That's of facilitation techniques. Any other? We have some facilitators. I know, Vladimir, you're also a facilitator. What would be your answer? How would you like to? Gamification. Yeah.
And simply also try to understand why people find it hard to open up. Literally, maybe you have, but ask the question, why is this maybe not so easy for some people?
What is your favorite Management 3.0 practice?
That's a bad question. No, it doesn't.
Who is your
depend.
favorite child?
They're all
Let's
great.
do it.
Exactly. Who's your favorite child? Okay, but I will pick one also a bit connected to today. There's a thing called kudo cards. Maybe some of you have heard of it. And it's literally cards that you write to thank somebody, to give a compliment, tell a job well done. And what I love about them is that not necessarily writing the card, but having the mindset that it's also really nice to give and to get compliments sometimes. Yeah. In the corporate world, we are too good, unfortunately, often I believe, in pointing out what is bad, what did not go well, what went wrong, what did not perform. It's really nice to balance that with going to a person saying, thank you, great job, well done, I really appreciate it. And that, I would say, for us as humans, is sometimes worth at least as much and maybe even more than getting a pay rise or a bonus or a present or something like that. You know, that well-meant pat on the back is great. But in a sense, at Management 3.0, we have 23 children. It's a big family because we have 23 practices. And they're all great, but they all depend on indeed the situation, the question, what I said earlier, the problem or the challenge you're trying to drive a change in. And so that is how you can use those practices.
Yep.
Maybe the last one from Nevena that can be addressed to both, so both Marc and Katharina, I would like to hear your answers. What is something that makes you happy the most?
In work or in work or in private?
Both.
Both. Both. It also depends. So when I look at the motivators and what makes me happy there, it's also freedom, but also relatedness. And it's the knowledge that I can have the freedom to live where I want, to work when I want, and be still related to other people. It might be only virtually, but still I feel a closeness to my colleagues that I don't always have when I am with in-person people, because then I'm still kind of drawn back because I don't have the freedom. On the other hand, in 1 week, I will meet a couple of team colleagues, not only Marc, but some others in Berlin, and yeah, that also makes me very, very happy, also privately, because they're like friends, and we're going to get sushi, and it will be so great, Berlin.
Absolutely.
What makes you happy?
Like I said, it depends. I'm going to keep it simple. What makes me happy is being here. I had never been to Serbia before. I had never been to Belgrade before. Of course, I was, in a positive sense, a bit anxious about the talk we were giving today, so you did not all leave the room, you did not all fall asleep, but wait, no, I've really felt great people, we've had great conversations, great atmosphere, so right now, being here, just, feels great, makes me happy.
We are happy to have you.
Sorry,
last
the
question, a little bit promotion. Can we find all your practices on your website?
Yes, of course you can. And if we go back to that little leaflet here, and I will also put that on the chat, you find a little QR code here. And if you scan that, it will bring you to a landing page where you find your free leadership pack. So some of the practices are already there that we compiled for you. But if you then browse the website, you will find many more practices. And most of them are free to download, at least. So please go ahead, because we want people to be happy. That's why we give them away.
Okay. Can we have the presentation? Or is there a new one coming? No. Can we have the presentation back, please? Because then we would like to go to the next slide, I think, and show our appreciation. Oh, no, this is already done, sorry. I wanted to go to the song.
Okay, so are there any more questions? Anything
no
else
more
in
questions. Looking also at the time, thank you very much, Marc. Thank you very much, Katharina, for being with us.
Thank you very much.